Okay, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different result. So why am I mentioning that when it's talking about it starts with me? And my topic is about how all of us have a role to play in health and welfare. And by all of us, I mean the FCI, NCOs, National Canine Organizations, and you, the breeders. So all of us have a role to play in this. But why? I want to share something, a concept that I thought about with my background in PR and marketing, about a topic that we have failed to address. And the reason we failed to address it, you might agree with me, you might not agree with me, and you're welcome to. So I'm just going to take you on this little journey and see if I agree, because I feel that we have not been talking the same language as our pet people, as the people who purchase our puppies. And actually, if you, one of the downfalls of the dog world is that we don't take systems that are out there already and use them because we see ourselves in a separate bubble, something unique, which we are in many ways, but we are not in other ways. So actually, your pet person is a consumer, and you, as a kennel club or as a breeder, are a retailer. But we've never ever looked at them in that way. And why haven't we? So I'm just, again, you might think I'm crazy, but just bear with me. Conspicuous consumption is the purchase of goods or services for the specific purpose of displaying one's wealth. Conspicuous consumption is a means to show one's social status, especially when publicly displayed goods and services are too expensive for other members of a person's class. In sociology and economics, the term conspicuous consumption describes and explains the consumer practice of buying and using goods of higher quality, priced or in greater quantity than practical. According to Veblen's theory, people consume conspicuously for two main reasons: to be recognized by their peers and to achieve a higher social status in society. Both factors are a reflection of the culture and social or economic class that consumer resides in. Some of you may not remember, but the days when it was a thrill to have a television. Not every home had a television. Today there's a television in every room. But in days of past, having a television was a great thing. It was the first thing that, you know, people aspired to, and then a microwave and all these other things and gadgets, which to us in this day and age is very normal, but it wasn't back then. So what did this mean for pedigree dogs? I'm talking about the 70s, 80s, and perhaps the early 90s. It was the heyday of pedigree dogs. It's when companies like Pedigree used to use pedigree dogs to advertise their products. It's when they saw pedigree dogs as aspirational, when families wanted to own a pedigree dog for the reasons I told you earlier of conspicuous consumption. They wanted to show that they didn't own a mutt. They weren't feeding it table scraps anymore. They were feeding it Royal Canin. You know, they were giving, it was a social status. It was proving that they had something. And this led to a demand for pedigree dogs, which was met by breeders. And so these were the heyday of dogs, when large numbers at shows and in various breeds, which we don't see today. But as I said, changing consumer trends, and consumerism is arguably in terminal decline, with millennials leading the change. This is what I meant by we don't look at the trends outside. We tend to stay in our bubble and not assess things from a different point of view. Consumer study academics have been picking up on changing habits for a number of years. This includes an increased ambivalence towards consumption itself. People are buying less, often, and less overall. Lifestyle changes are seeing us moving away from the consumer model, which has dominated post-war capitalist economies. Buying more and more things as a source of identity and meaning seems to be gradually but consistently falling out of favor. People are increasingly interested in experiences instead. The priority is making and sharing memories, interacting with other people and places, attending events, undertaking adventures, and so on. A long time ago, people worshipped trees and nature and rivers and rocks. And we moved away from that, and they started worshipping their consumer things that they could show. But we now see a trend of going back to that, where people are going back to those sort of things, and yoga and meditation and all those sort of things. So these are changing trends in consumerism because everyone has a TV. It's no big deal now. It's not a source of trying to show someone that you're ahead of them or you have a different status. So that's the changing trends that we see today. So whilst consumerism has been the beating heart of Western economies for generations, we're talking about a growing dissatisfaction with the idea that passive consumption equals happiness. Those retailers that survive will be the ones that genuinely understand what is happening. The answer is likely to lie in offering objects, services, and experiences that feel genuine and enriching. In many cases, it'll be about building a long-term relationship that forgoes selling things now, but building ties that would lead them back to you when they decide to purchase. And this is a term that's currently being used, and it's called inverted snobbery, where a person overly proud of being one of or sympathetic to the common people and who denigrates or shuns those of superior ability, education, social standing, etc. The idea that things that well-educated or upper-class people like must be bad. So what did this mean for pedigree dogs? It saw a rise in the adopt, don't shop. Sorry, Julie. I mean, I'm involved in an animal shelter in Malaysia, so I don't say this, but we saw a rise in this. We saw a rise in a lot of people, celebrities who wanted status for being do-gooders, for doing these sort of things, not because they had a heart or a love for dogs, but because it looked good for them socially. So we saw a rise in this because there were, in the 70s and 80s, there were shelter dogs, there were street dogs, or there were, mixed breeds. But we didn't see such a large push on this. But it's a trend now because people want to show that they are kind and whatever. I like this image because the Afghan hound, the king of dogs, the most beautiful animal, was at one stage one of the most popularly owned pets. Not show dogs, pets. I mean, you could see the numbers in show rings which reflected that, but they were popular pets. Today, breeders struggle to sell pet Afghans. Why is that? Do we have less time in the day? Are there only 23 hours in a day now? Or do people have, does the Afghan have less hair? No, but it's changing trends where people have moved away from these sort of things because they don't need to show these symbols or status that they previously once showed. So let's understand the mind of a consumer a little bit. A consumer is always looking to buy what will serve their needs and wants, a solution to their problem. A pet owner wants a dog that is beautiful, but they need a dog that is healthy, physically and mentally. This is called the value that a consumer places when purchasing the product. So let me just talk about the first point. Now, what do they mean by serve their purpose? Why does a pet person get a pedigree dog? They get a dog because the husband's too lazy on the sofa. They want to encourage him to go for walks. They want the family to do something as a unit together. They want all these other reasons. They have a want to serve a need that they have. And my question then is, as breeders and owners of pedigree dogs, we own them for very different reasons. And have we realized there's a difference in the people who own a pet dog and the reasons that they do to fulfill their need? Or have we just imposed our values or our responsibility? A breeder has a pedigree dog for a very different reason. We want to breed them, we want to show them, we want to do all these things. Those are not important to a pet person. A pet person, they want something that is beautiful. Yes, we all like beautiful things. I know beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. There's some of these American bully dogs that look like a cross between an iguana and a dachshund. But, some people like them. I'm not questioning their choice in beauty. But they want something essentially beautiful. That's a part of it. And why do they want a healthy dog? Physically and mentally. Physically, because then they don't have to spend tons on vet bills. and mentally because they don't want to be sued when their dog bites the neighbor or bites the postman or something like that. So that's the need that they have. And similarly, a hunter also has very different reasons why they do. So how did the pedigree dog world react? We were stuck in the consumerism cycle. We still thought people wanted dogs for that reason, for status. And the focus with breeders and NCOs, as usual, was always on beauty and show wins. We focused on what was key to us, not the consumer. We never addressed the want and need of the consumer. We only focused on the physical and awards aspect. Telling somebody that their puppy they're going to buy from you is a multi-champion, multi-blah, blah, 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 blah. It sounds good, but it doesn't mean anything. They can't connect with that. And beauty and awards do not equal health. And in cases where beauty or wins have been the focus, a pet pedigree dog that becomes ill is thus a misrepresentation and deceit on the part of the breeder. The value of owning a pedigree dog has to be more than just physical beauty or awards. Those augment the value, but they do not enhance or validate it. We need to be very clear on this definition. So health and heritage, together with beauty, need to be the new buzzwords that we use. Those are the things that we need to promote. And I'll tell you why. So just quickly, visually, what are we aiming for? This or this? Physical, awards, or something that people can relate to? You know, that whole thing of relating to something and feeling it. Okay, but before that, I want to talk about branding. And by branding, I don't mean a logo. Branding is the process of creating a strong, positive perception of a company, its products, or services to the consumer's mind. Branding is our value and what are the values we represent. It's your business philosophy. Importantly, does this value add purpose to what the consumer is looking for? The value is the entire brand architecture. When you think of a German car, you think precision. You think the ability to drive at 220 kilometers an hour on an autobahn and feel safe. When you think of an Italian luxury car, what do you think of? When you think of a brand, of a lady's handbag, you think it's all these things that you relate to when a brand is associated with their value. So what's brand architecture and brand promise? Brand architecture helps you define what the relationship is and helps you stay organized internally. It's a roadmap for brand identity, development and design, and increases flexibility for product or service expansion in the future. And brand ambassadors and touch points. A brand ambassador is a person who represents a brand in a positive light. It includes anybody who you choose to represent your brand or its associated products and services. A touch point is any time a potential customer or consumer comes in contact with your brand before, during, or after they purchase something from you. So what is our brand promise as dog people, as kennel clubs, as breeders? What's our brand promise? Our brand promise should be a dog of great beauty with a long heritage that is healthy in body and mind. So let's start with beauty. As I already went into beauty, so I'll skip past it. But I said beauty is subjective, but it's something that causes people to be attracted to. Heritage. Heritage is something that nobody can take away from pedigree dog people. They cannot argue with the heritage that we have. A heritage of a Xolo that is 2,000 to 3,000 years old versus a cockapoo that's 25 years old, 30 years old. So the normal person who doesn't even know about pedigree dogs, they immediately can understand that concept of heritage. They can feel and connect to it because they understand that this has a long heritage that goes back further than all these designer dogs. And health, of course. So, you know, with health, you're talking about predictable traits. You're talking about known genetic or health issues within the breed. We're not saying they're perfect, but we're saying we have track record. We have ways to deal with it. They are documented, and that's the importance in it. So elevate the value of what they own, the pet person, allow them to relate to the narrative and feel a part of it. All right. Who are the brand ambassadors and touch points in pedigree dog world? The FCI, the NCOs, or the breeders? All three. All three are touch points. But let's just think for a minute. Who has the most access to the pedigree, to the pet people who come to look for a dog? The FCI, your kennel club, or you as a breeder? You are the biggest touch point in this chain, because they're the people they'll come to. When they email the FCI office and say they want to buy a dog in the Philippines or something, the FCI is not going to deal with that. But they go to the breeders, they end up at a show, they see you walking your dog, they see you exercising your dog, they come up to you and they talk to you. So you are one of the most important touch points in this whole process. And of course, kennel clubs as well. But kennel clubs don't own dogs, they don't have the dogs there. They do a function of registering, organizing. So they are unable to give that experiential thing that the pet person wants. That's the difference. Are the brand ambassadors and touch points aware of their role? Now, I've told you that's your role, but how many of you are aware of that? How many of you are aware of the importance and this role that you play in pedigree dogs? In the promotion of pedigree dogs? How many of you realize, or how many of you have relegated that to, oh, it's the job of the FCI, it's the job of my kennel club, I am not part of this? No, you're an essential part of it. And do brand ambassadors and touch points echo the same brand promise, ethos, and philosophy? Are we singing from the same hymn sheet? Are we talking about the same things? Are the things that the FCI, your kennel club, promoting the same thing that you as a breeder are also promoting when you talk to a potential customer or potential pet person? And do all consumers get the same experience from all the brand ambassadors and touch points? And I'm going to tell you a little story. A friend of mine went to Disneyland, and Disneyland's theme is the happiest place on earth. And he went to the toilet, and the janitor in the toilet said to him, "Hello, where are you from?" And he said, "I'm from Malaysia." "Oh, that must be a beautiful place. If I have the money, one day that's a destination I definitely want to go to." They smiled at each other. My friend went to the toilet. As he was standing in the toilet, he heard the janitor say the same thing to the next person that walked in. He said, "Hi, where are you from?" He said, "Oh, I'm from Hong Kong." "Oh, what a fantastic place. Hong Kong is a destination that I would love to go to one day." And that guy felt happy. So my friend walked out and said, "Hey, you're cheating. You're telling the same story to everyone." And he said, "Yes, because I know you're listening to me and I want to make you laugh." And you see, the janitor has got the memo about being the final touch point, but he's still echoing the same brand promise of the happiest place on earth, to make you happy when you're there. So are we doing the same thing in pedigree dogs? Are we echoing the same thing? When you go to a Hard Rock cafe, whether it's in Kuala Lumpur or in Paris or in London, you get the same service. You get the same thing. It's all the way down the chain to everyone. So I'm a problem fixer, problem solver, and I believe in solutions rather than identifying issues and then complaining about it. I mean, I might have a complaint first, but then I'll try to find a solution. And so I'm just going to suggest a couple of things that perhaps we can think of doing to improve this so that we see them as consumers and we better cater to their needs. Because otherwise we end up just complaining that they're like this and they're like that. So let's do something about it. So something as simple as a breed info sheet. How many kennel clubs have simple information like this displayed on their website, displayed on their social media, giving a consumer just the salient points of a breed before they go and meet a breeder? How many breeders have info sheets about their breeds to hand out? Do you take with you to shows that when someone from the public comes up to you and says, "What a beautiful dog," you say, "Here's a little bit of information about my breed." But we tend to only want to deal with the people that are potential customers. We're not interested in people, as I said, who be potential customers. We only want the immediate ones, not those that are going to be our customers in the future. We're focused on the immediate. So that's one thing. What does a pedigree certificate mean? In Malaysia, we have a huge issue with unscrupulous breeders, puppy farmers, telling people, why do you need a pedigree certificate? I can tell you the date of birth of the dog. I can tell you the information about when it was vaccinated and all this. You do not need a pedigree certificate. You see, a pedigree certificate is produced by the Kennel Club for breeders. We want to know the lineage. We want to know the parents. We want to know the various diseases that the animal has been tested for, hip scores, elbow scores, all these things. It's important to us. But we've never addressed, why is it important to a pet person? Why do they need the pedigree? And when you highlight to a pet person, when you take them through what it represents, that it represents a portion of generations of rich heritage that this dog carries, a heritage of healthy dogs that have existed for hundreds of years. They're not interested in the wins. The word CH means nothing to them. They couldn't care less. But when you explain the importance of a pedigree certificate, there is a connection. They can then connect with you. Safeguarding and preserving the breeds. So, preserve the breed by educating about the original purpose and function. When you tell someone what the breed was originally bred to do, you start to educate them about this dog. When you tell them why a poodle is groomed as it is, because of function, why a Labrador needs to have a double coat, function. When you start to involve them in this process and educate them that this is not just a pedigree dog, but it has this rich heritage, rich history, and it was bred for a function and a purpose, they start to appreciate this animal even more. They understand, wow, what I'm about to get is something extremely special. And they connect. So it no longer is just a piece of paper that you hand to them with words that mean nothing to them. They start to understand all this when you educate them. So when you explain to them also that dogs were once prized possession, that they were things that rich people, emperors, kings exchanged as gifts, that they were precious things, and go back to this heritage thing, highlight this heritage part to them to understand that what they're having in their hands, what they potentially could get, is so precious. They connect, they understand, and they feel part of this journey. And also, when you tell them, thank you for getting this dog, because by you promoting this breed, one day this breed will not become like the Tasmanian tiger that people only see in photos. I mean, for those with popular breeds, it's not an issue. But many of you know there are many breeds that are struggling, many breeds that potentially could have gone into extinction that were saved by people. The Shar-Pei was one, the Norwegian Lundehund, all these sort of breeds. And so for you, you'd be like, I don't care. I have a very popular breed. I've got a long way. But we need to care. We need to worry about these things. And pet owners play a vital role with helping breeders continue to breed and promote these breeds, especially true with the rarer breeds. Please never forget that. Please never forget that they play a role in helping you breed a litter, because you're not going to keep the whole litter. You're going to keep the pick and maybe the second pick, and the rest need to be sold as pets. So please never diminish the importance that pet people play in this whole process. And as I said, it's about making them feel included. Something else that we could do. Imagine if on the pedigree certificate, you printed something that was breed specific to each person. So instead of one page, you had a second page that told them something like this. Thank you for joining us on this journey in helping to preserve this ancient breed, the Xoloscuintli. This breed has existed for more than 4,000 years, and your commitment to owning and loving this breed ensures that generations of people to come will get to experience that very same enjoyment of this ancient breed. Thank you for your love and commitment to our efforts to protect and preserve the heritage of this breed. You are now part of the countless number of dedicated dog owners who over centuries have ensured continued survival of this breed. As custodians of all pedigree dogs, we, the Mexican Kennel Club, thank you sincerely and welcome you to the family. Imagine if you read that as a pet person. It immediately connects with your heart. You will immediately feel part of this. And this is what we're failing to do, is connecting the dots with them, connecting with their hearts for them to feel part of this whole thing, so that they get this, they feel connected, and they stay loyal. You finally told them that it's not just a pedigree dog, but it's heritage. You've gone into all this. It will speak to them. Something else you could also do is have some fun facts about your breed. I'm not going to read it out, but you can read it. And if you put that on the pedigree certificate, an extra page, I'm talking to kennel clubs here. If you did something like this for your pedigrees, that was not just a generic document, but now became something special for people to cherish, have this sort of information, you know, I haven't fact-checked all of this, so please don't kill me if Christopher Columbus didn't have a shiplo, but you get the idea. If you had salient points about your breed, interesting facts, not a breed standard, but facts that a pet person could be proud to tell their neighbor, that they could tell their children, oh, and the children will go to school and tell about the dog that they just bought that has this history and this heritage. So, when I thought of this subject, I was going to stand here and tell all of you that, you know, the dog world is so conflicted internally, and that makes us an easy target. We're constantly fighting each other. When there's a problem, we don't get together and say, how can we resolve this? We go on social media, we go online, and we start to criticize, and we start to condemn. But nobody's interested in working together. That's why we're an easy target, because we are so conflicted. We are not united. This has been going on, we still have not realized that we need to be united. We need to be one if we're going to continue with this. If our breeds that we love so much and passionate about are to continue. So collectively, all this blame, you know, this complaint mentality that is so prevalent in the dog world, and that it is so endemic in the dog world, actually. So I'm just going to go into talking about how each of you now, and I'm going to break it down into different parts, can be part of this. And I'll start with the FCI. But let's face a fact. The FCI does not have consumers. The consumers for the FCI are the 98 members that come under the umbrella. The consumers for the FCI are not the pet people. Indirectly, the breeders are, because breeders come under the kennel clubs come under the FCI. But they don't have consumers. But they have still identified and recognized the need to promote health, welfare, all these things about pedigree dogs, and they've done it. In the last 3 to 4 years, you've seen an increase in this being done. And it's done to support the 98 members they have across the globe. Because the problems are not unique to Malaysia or to Sweden or to South America. It's to all of us. We all have the same problems. So that's why the FCI has taken this up, and they've done it. Because they see their changing role, and they see the need to get involved and to help their members. Kennel clubs. So what can you do? What can the kennel club do now to support their consumers? What have you done to support your consumers? I find it tends to be so much about registrations and keeping those numbers up. But if we're truly passionate, if we truly have the values, brand values that we talked about, health, heritage, all these things, if we have that brand, how many kennel clubs are introducing mandatory health screening, health testing before they'll register puppies? How many would insist on that? I know the Nordic countries and that area you guys do. You did a great job of that. But I'm talking to the other members across the globe. How many are doing that? Or how many are happy just to register anything as long as it's got a pedigree certificate? The Siren Dam are registered with the organization, and they'll register whatever color you put down even. If you have a stripy, whatever, French bulldog, blue, gray, or whatever, they register it. Because it's about registrations and ultimately, let's be honest, money. So how many kennel clubs are serious about actually preserving our breeds by making us German precision, so like Mercedes-Benz? How many are interested to take the brand value higher, to actually uphold the brand value and make it important? I would say very little. How many kennel clubs do road shows? How many kennel clubs do discover dogs, where the public get to come, touch, feel, talk to breeders, experience? Remember, we're living in an experiential generation. People who can't just read it on Google, but need to touch, feel, and have their face licked by this dog to fall in love with it. So are we doing that? How many are doing, or are we too focused on running dog shows and that's it? So we're still catering for a small part of our members who we're not actually effectively serving. We're doing them a disservice. And how many kennel clubs are using the materials produced by the FCI? Very few. I'll tell you that. I know that as a fact. So, importantly, when problems arise, are you as kennel clubs approaching the FCI to ask, let's get together, let's work this problem out, help us? How many do that? Or how many are waiting for the FCI to invite them? I'm not giving you the answers. You think about it. How many kennel clubs are lobbying your local governments? It irritates me every time I see on Facebook there's some welfare issue or something comes out, and people ask the question, what is the FCI doing to lobby this? The FCI doesn't live in your country. The FCI operates out of Belgium. You live in your country. Your kennel club is based in that country. You have status in that country to go and make demands. The FCI doesn't have status to make demands in Malaysia or in Mexico. Who are you? But as a local kennel club, you are somebody that they can deal with. And the same applies to you as a breeder. You have a vote. You have a vote to your local council, to your people. All of you have that, but people don't realize that. Anyway, so I've come on to breeders. And breeders, have you realized that have you written to your local MP? Have you written to your member of parliament telling them your concerns about animal welfare issues that are coming up? Or are you waiting for someone else to do it? Because you're saying, it's not my job. The FCI should do it. Kennel clubs should do it. Why should I do it? It's not my job. It is your job. You own these breeds and you vote. Remember, politicians are about votes. When you start making known to them that you are concerned, that you are there, they will start sitting up and taking notice. And listen, are we entertaining our consumers as breeders? Most breeders say, oh, they're so irritating. They ask such stupid questions. I can't be bothered to give them these answers. So we push them away. We're not interested to deal with potential future customers. We want immediate customers. And then we complain when they go and buy a dog online because the people are willing to entertain them. The people are willing to answer their questions. So do you take time as a breeder to answer emails and inquiries, or at shows when someone comes up to you? Or do you say, no, don't disturb me now, I need to show my dog? Or do you say, can you come back in half an hour when I finish showing my dog, and then I'll talk to you? So what are you doing as a breeder to promote your own breeds? Are you honest? Are you health testing? Are you DNA testing? Are you health screening, I mean? What are you doing to preserve and to promote health and welfare? When you have a puppy that is less than perfect and you're pushing it off as a pet, are you honest with the pet person that this has this issue or whatever? Are we? Or do we just try to sell it off quietly? And then we wonder why vets and everyone else attacks us when they say pedigree dogs are unhealthy. So how honest are you? And it's about building relationships. with potential customers, not your existing customers. Existing customers is a given. When they buy a puppy from you, you have to have a relationship with them. But the potential people, are you developing a relationship with them? And the last group of people I want to talk to is vets, because I'm sure there's some vets here. What are vets doing in helping to promote or to get accurate information? Can I give a suggestion to the vets in this room? When you have on your form or whatever it is that you want people to fill up information about their dog, often you only see breed and you write whatever breed, French Bulldog, Bulldog. Can you add another column or another sector and say, did you buy it from a registered breeder? Because then the information that you will collect, the knowledge that you'll get from the diseases that are coming through your clinic, whether they're from registered breeders or they're from pet shops or, or from these puppy farms. Because when to cast the same thing over everybody and say, right, all pedigree dogs, because it looks like a French Bulldog, but you've not seen the difference between a French Bulldog that's been bought from a dedicated breeder who's health tested, done BOAS, done all the things, versus someone who's just put two dogs together, mated them, had puppies and sold it to you. That would help to give more accurate information to government authorities, to people about pedigree dogs. And I implore vets not to be so anti-pedigree dogs, because you need customers. If all dogs, and if dogs are banned forever, I don't know what vets are going to be busy doing. So, talk to breeders, genuine breeders, not pet owners, but people who are breeders who have dedicated their life to doing all these things. And you're more likely to get accurate information. Coming to seminars like this, I applaud vets that do not breed dogs that are here today over the last 3 days to listen to all this. So thank you, because you get a different perspective, a correct perspective on what this group of crazy people are all about. So in conclusion, who needs to do it? Every single one of us. Every single one of us. And it starts with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gopi.
Señor Gopi, muchas gracias por su plática extraordinaria, y quiero más que nada hacer una reflexión, dado que usted ha tenido la gentileza de mencionar a los médicos veterinarios, qué papel jugamos en los perros de pura raza. Lamentablemente no todos los médicos veterinarios que egresan de las facultades están sensibilizados con los perros de pura raza, por lo tanto la información que se puede dar a los clientes es muy pobre. Solamente los que nos dedicamos a hacer la clínica, a las pequeñas especies, o somos jueces, o estamos relacionados con la crianza, somos los que podemos dar alguna opinión sobre los perros que llegan a nuestros consultorios. Por eso, el núcleo de los perros de pura raza versus las personas que tienen perros es muy reducido, es muy reducido. Entonces sería uno de los puntos a tratar. ¿Sí? Dado que el título nuestro en la universidad es médico veterinario zootecnista, y la zootecnia tiene que ver con parte de la crianza y la salud y el bienestar animal. La reflexión va en este sentido. Qué bueno que la Federación Canófila Mexicana haga este tipo de congresos hablando del bienestar animal, pero esto solamente es el 50% en la vida de los perros. El otro 50% es quién o qué profesión es la que se dedica al bienestar animal. Y la profesión que se dedica al bienestar animal somos los médicos veterinarios. Entonces, yo creo que una buena idea en el próximo congreso sería tomar ese 50% que hace falta. Quien nos dedicamos principalmente o primariamente somos los médicos veterinarios, pero están involucrados también aquí los creadores y otras personas que sin tener la formación de médico veterinario aman a los perros, y entonces están en todo este sistema que nosotros vemos de exposiciones, crianza, etcétera. y es lo que le da el valor al perro de pura raza. Entonces, nosotros aquí tenemos un problema, sobre todo en la facultad, porque en algunas transparencias vi que el destino final de los perros de calle es la eutanasia, cuando en realidad en todo el mundo es un problema, y aquí hay varios médicos veterinarios que además dan clase. Yo especialmente doy cirugía en la Facultad de Medicina Veterinaria y tenemos el grave problema de no tener perros en las prácticas de cirugía, lo cual nos aleja enormemente de una profesión cuando salen los alumnos que puedan ejercer a plenitud. A plenitud. Ese es un grave problema y estamos hablando del 50% que no estamos tocando aquí sobre el bienestar animal. Entonces, le agradezco mucho que haya tomado en cuenta al médico veterinario en su última parte, lo cual motiva a muchos, y hay muchos alumnos aquí que van a estar motivados a través de esto, de saber cómo darle un plus a ese perro de pura raza que en la actualidad es muy pobre. El núcleo es muy pequeño si hablamos en forma mundial. Muchas de las personas compran perros por el simple hecho de tenerlos, porque como bien dijo, son bonitos, están sanos y no les interesa el pedigrí. Es más, de hecho, muchos compran, véndemelo como pet y no pago el registro o no lo recogen. Entonces, es multifactorial. Yo sé que es multifactorial, pero aparte de felicitarlos y a todos los que han dado pláticas aquí que nos han sensibilizado mucho en este asunto del bienestar animal, pues yo propondría que en un siguiente congreso tomáramos en cuenta al 50% del bienestar animal, que somos los que nos dedicamos al bienestar animal en cuanto a su preparación. Y esta preocupación debe ser de carácter mundial, no nada más en México, en todo el mundo donde están prohibido ya el uso de perros en forma física. Los alumnos quizá ven a los animales en fotos, en dummies, en otras situaciones que no son el animal vivo. Y hablando de tantas razas, es muy difícil que un animal, por ejemplo, si vamos a sondearlo, no es lo mismo sondear a un collie que a un pug o que un perro, un schnauzer, por decirlo. Entonces, más que nada, la reflexión y muchas felicidades por su plática extraordinaria. Gracias.
Just to address an issue that he brought up. I mean, this is the first, I'm going to answer in English, sorry. This is the first Health and Welfare Congress. So obviously there's more initiatives like this. I was actually talking to Nixa earlier in the coffee break, and we were talking about why don't we get more vets who are breeders involved in congresses like this, where we get them on site. A perfect example of this is what Tamas did to invite Four Paws to join our Health and Welfare Committee. I mean, people thought it was crazy getting a welfare organization to join us. But do you know what? It has worked so well because we understand each other. When you talk, someone else mentioned it in the earlier presentation, when you make the effort to talk to people who you wouldn't normally talk to, it'd be amazing to discover the things that we can do together. So I think that's just a perfect example. And actually, we've seen it, how it's worked. And, we've learned so much from each other. So, yeah, thank you.
And one last question.
It's a welfare organisation. Gopi, I completely agree with you that the tide is turning, but I still think there's a very, very high level of consumerism. And the one thing about consumerism these days is that people want instant gratification. And this is why so many people are going to the internet to buy a puppy, because they can get a puppy instantly. Now, I know with professional breeders, kennel club breeders, sometimes, a lot of time, you have to go on a waiting list. And so I would say the key thing to understand is, one, you really have to sell the benefits, as you've spoken about, but also I would say you have to continue building that relationship with the people during that waiting time, because often what kennel club people do is they put you on the list and then you never hear, or you just
Absolutely.
hear when the puppy's born. So really building that relationship, maybe sending some of the things you showed to keep the person really, excited about what they're doing. And yes.
I wholeheartedly agree. And that's why it irritates me that breeders complain that people are buying from online. And yes, consumerism still exists and people still go and buy a dog. I mean, look, in everything in life, you're going to get someone who's going to not spend money buying an original Fendi, but buy something from Chinatown. You're going to get those people. That's life. And so there are people who are going to go and buy a dog off the internet because it's cheaper rather than buying it from a breeder who's maybe health tested it and all this. Definitely, you'll still feel that. But generally, I think if people were better educated, the consumers are better educated these days. We're more aware of what's going on. So if they were better educated about why a registered breeder versus something online, they'd be more aware of it. But I agree with you. Breeders need to be more patient. They need to connect with them and continue this. But unfortunately, we don't. We're interested in, as I said, I'm probably going to get stoned as I go out. So, but that's how I feel.
And I said, no one else, but
Thank you. It was a brilliant summary of our situation and its reasons. And it gives a possibility for the future to change it, what we are already working on. But I would like to emphasize two things. We got this finger called index finger from the God or by whomever you believe, not to appoint the others in 99.9% of the cases or using on the keyboard. This finger can turn in this way as well. So I would like to suggest to do so. And I especially liked the other thing, what Gopi mentioned about the positive attitude. I mean, we are always offensive, talking about the solo, the breed, the pride of Mexico. Now this breed almost cannot be shown in 2 countries in the FCI, very important countries. Just today, I talked to the leaders of the Mexican Kennel Club, and I will do it with Ilaria when we meet again, but via email. And now I also talked to André Varlet from France, because those are 3 breeds, French Bulldog, Solo, and Peruvian Naked Dog, to send communication to Austria, to Germany, and to the FCI, mentioning all these positive things, how proud they are to have these ancient breeds, and complaining with the improper handling of their national culture heritage in those countries. And if they can find some politicians to sign this, it will be even stronger. So we didn't talk about it, but I love the idea, because today we already worked on it. So I would love to have this, because the countries of origin in this fight cannot be quiet. So if they are acting with us, it makes the whole action much stronger. So thank you, Gopi. It was brilliant.
I want to thank the FCI board members for giving Mexico the opportunity of having this important World Congress for Welfare and Health for the dogs worldwide. We are really pleased, and thank you so much for giving us this great opportunity. And also I want to thank all the speakers from all over the world who participate in this great event. Thank you.